permanent expenditure commitments on the back of them.
Doubling fines for driving offences without enforcement is not effective. That's according to a former Transport Minister. It's after it emerged research from the RSA found less than half of drivers believe doubling fines would have a positive impact on their behaviour. The report was submitted to the Department of Transport before fines for 16 motoring offences doubled last October. Former Minister Shane Ross says it's clear they haven't had an impact yet.
What we're seeing is the possibility that these doubling of fines, which were in response to appalling road death figures, is cosmetic and is not going to be effective. It is not, in fact, being effective. And as we've now seen, the year-end figures for road deaths are absolutely appalling.
And that's your news at 7:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair, the slopes are calling. Fly to Europe's top ski resorts with Ryanair's low fares.
Mostly dry early tonight with lowest temperatures of 4 to 8 degrees. Later, patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle will spread northeastwards across the country. Moderate south to southwest breezes will increase fresh and gusty towards morning. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, in association with Movember. Effortless shave, magnificent mo.
This is News Talk.
Now then, you're very welcome, everybody. Wednesday evening coming at you, which means, of course, Wednesday Night Rugby, the first of the new year. Mr. Andy Dunn in studio between 8 and 9, I'm very happy to say. We will talk this hour to TJ Quinn of ESPN. You'll have seen, I'm sure, Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin, 24 years of age, went into cardiac arrest on Monday Night Football as a horrified national audience looked on. He's recovering in hospital, seems to be on the road to recovery, thankfully. TJ Quinn of ESPN will join us this hour to tell all. And there is live football this evening. Premier League is coming at us thick and fast, as is Mr. Kenneth Cunningham in studio once again. There's no getting rid of you.
Evening, Joe.
You're very welcome.
Just lingers.
It really is lingering.
I am lingering.
Through until 10 o'clock, the smell this evening, I think. It was only here till about 8 o'clock last night, but now it's here for the evening.
Well, I tell you what, I got home late last night and my ma said, geez, Joe was in a bad way over the Christmas. I said I didn't hear him whinging myself. She went, oh yeah, he was described it in minute detail how bad he was.
I was whinging before you came on.
In his sick bed, he was in bits and had his missus running around like a skivvy after him.
53106.
You're back anyway. You sound as if you're back. That's my point.
Getting there. Add Off the Ball on Twitter. You can hit up Kenny Cunningham. The darts last night, Kenny. You were holding court here, Manchester United against Bournemouth. Are you a darts man?
I was trying. Nathan was trying to get over to the Ali Pally any chance he could get.
Are you a darts man?
No.
Okay. I wouldn't be especially either, but I could appreciate what was happening last night. So Michael Smith, who had twice been a runner-up from England, against Michael van Gerwen, 3-time world champion. That was the final.
Yeah.
I switched over, and the commentator at the stage I flicked over, which was after I got out of here, obviously, was saying...
Early, yeah.
This could be... this could be the greatest darts match...
Really?
...ever, is what he was saying.
In terms of the standard overall, like... Okay, yeah.
Now, I think it dwindled a touch because Michael Smith ran out relatively comfortable winner. But at that stage, when I was tuning in, it was extraordinary. And what propelled this from amazing darts match to stratospheric was a leg midway through where both players, stick in your headphones here, both players, Kenny, were on for a 9-darter, which is perfection. Perfection, as you well know. And it was, it was extraordinary. So have a little listen here. This is Wayne Mardle on commentary, losing his mind and his voice, it turns out. That's no joke. So here we go. This was 9-darter, both of them on for 9-darter in the final last night. Smith against Van Gerwen, and you'll get a sense of things.
You can tell by the way they're scoring, there may be nothing in it. They may both be on 9s. Michael may miss and Michael may hit. They're both on 9s. They're both on a 9. This is insane. Come on now.
Wow, the World Championship final. Michael van Gerwen is on a 9-darter in the World final and just misses double 12. Over to you, Michael Smith.
One man misses, does the other man get? I've never seen the like. Come on, Spolly boy. Yes, double 12. That is the most amazing leg of darts you will ever see in your life. I can't speak. I
Not bad.
That was pretty sweet. Yeah, like you say, I don't think you have to be necessarily a huge sports or darts fan to get lose yourself in the moment there. Yeah, I agree.
The crowd told any blind viewers just had to listen to the crowd.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Wayne Mardle really put himself out of the match, the commentator. His voice went and John Parrott had to take over. He tried. He had a.
Oh, is that what it was? That's why he jumped in.
He had a lozenge for a while. I just couldn't get back in the game. Seized up, voice gone.
I was just going to say, it's one of those moments for the commentators. It's, you know, it's unique. You've got to get it right. You know, you got to come in at the right moment. You got to find the right words, haven't you?
Yeah, he did well, and lost his voice in the process.
I suppose your man had to miss the dart, didn't he? Really, for it to be, you know, he goes and gets it first. You know, I think the kind of, yeah, that's where the drama is, isn't it? He's actually missed that last dart, and your man kind of steps up.
Yeah.
Oh, Nathan was loving it. I know that.
Richie McCormack is with us. Good evening.
Absolute sport of kings is darts, and I don't have a word said against it. I love the darts. What Michael Smith performed last night was just incredible. Like, to knock out that double 12, complete that 9-darter after watching Van Gerwen blow his chance at it, took a mental fortitude I can't even begin to get my head around, particularly with that crowd baying behind him. He was immense, absolutely immense last night. To come through what he did as regards putting 2 defeats in a final behind him, to go up against somebody of the calibre of Michael Van Gerwen and essentially put him to bed with a couple of sets to spare. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
But then ran a pretty comfortable winner in the end as well, Rick.
Yeah, that, I guess, like as you mentioned there, that was the disappointing element of it, because I guess we figured that we were going to have an epic and we were going to have potentially a 7-6 and one of those, but Van Gerwen really fell away badly in the middle part of that match. It looked like we might get a wobble from Smith, and that kind of scar tissue from previous finals might bite home when Van Gerwen bought a set back to make it 6-4. I was worried for Smith then. I thought, do you know what, it's 6-4. They've gone off for a break here. He came back and I think opened with a really low 20s with his throw of the darts, but managed to recoup and managed to come back and put it to bed with a 3-set victory. And Jesus, it was great, absolutely great. For sheer drama, there is literally nothing like it. And to put it into context, like, we still talk about the darts contingent that are out in that office. We still talk about with great fondness Paul Lim's 9-darter at the BDO World Championships in 1990, I think it was, against an Irish competitor. And like, it's so unusual to see somebody pull off a 9-darter on the stage. And Lim's one, I think, was in the early stages of the tournament. For them to be both in contention in the same leg in a final with all the pressure on them in a much, much bigger environment and arena, like, it was exceptional darts last night. It really, really was.
I'm burying the lead, Kenny. Evan Ferguson's Brighton. They can't be stopped. So Evan Ferguson, he started last night, as we mentioned, 7:30. Hit the post in the first half. Really good, clever effort. A bit unlucky. And then scored second half. Very composed. He was involved in the third goal. It was an assist. I mean, he passed the ball 10 yards to someone, so we won't go overboard. But hey, he was involved. So amazing. 18-year-old Evan Ferguson. Here's the stat for you, Kenny. He is the youngest player to score in consecutive top-flight games for a club since Federico Makeda for Manchester United in 09. So that's a cautionary tale. Let's not get carried away. But still, this is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it is. I think we've all probably seen enough of Evan play underage football at Ireland under 21s in particular. He's made an impression of late. So I think we're all aware of the attributes which he has. Now, his physical size, in particular athleticism, like technical ability for somebody that big, really nice technique on the ball. And the thing for me from the outside looking in, which impressed me, and obviously I don't know a huge amount about Evan and obviously his development, but when he initially went to Brighton and he went there, was he 15 when he was 16?
More 16.
16, yeah, wasn't
16,
it? Yeah, exactly.
16, yeah.
But very quickly, he made big strides very quickly. It didn't seem within a year almost. He was in the 23s, Rich, and he was playing regularly there at that level. And that's a big jump. You know, you're playing there with some outstanding youth players and even professionals at under 23 allowed so many overage players. And then it seemed very quickly after that he was on the fringes of the first team. He was included in a couple of squads. He was on the bench. I mean, that's huge. You know, to make those strides that quickly was a little indication that, not in terms of the ability which he has that I've spoken about, but just kind of mentally as well in between his ears in terms of his kind of maturity and stuff, that it was literally all there. It was just a case of being patient and just waiting for it to come to the fore. So
And Rich, you would have seen him come through at Bowes. So he made his debut age...
Didn't play much there though, did he?
14. But his debut at 14.
Yeah.
Obviously, father Barry played. He's basically our Erling Haaland. Barry played. And I wondered, why didn't he go over? So if he's good enough to play at 14 for Bowes, he was certainly good enough to have headed over to the UK earlier. I wonder, was that a paternal family decision? Stay here, let's not rush things, or what was the thinking there, I wonder?
I think there is an age restriction on the players you can actually take on board from outside countries. So it would have been conducive with that. As far as I remember, there was talk at the time that obviously there would have been interest from overseas, but he couldn't move until he was 16. So that would have been the reason. I think it was on his 16th birthday, more or less. He was cleared to go over to Brighton. Yeah. So, but like, it's not long ago. Let's be honest. But I remember those conversations about him making his debut in that friendly against Chelsea. Funnily enough, against the Frank Lampard team, whereby like people were talking about 14 being too young and it's a man's environment. Like clearly, his physical development was such that he was able to hold himself in and around the Bowes team. And just look at like Jamie Mullins is heading over, making the same journey. We'll get to that. And he's only the same age as Ferguson is now. So clearly Ferguson, in terms of his physicality, was a few steps ahead. And I think aided by Barry and his family in general, he has a head on his shoulders that is much older than his years. So is able to handle, I think, the pressures is probably too much of a word, but certainly the difference in environment and the adult step up in environment that a professional football outfit would represent.
I think it definitely helps
to handle that. Yeah,
I think it definitely helps, Rich. I think when someone's gone down that road before, his dad in particular played at a good level, has played League of Ireland football as well. So yeah, there would have been kind of some sound advice there. I'd probably even reference Nathan Collins at Wolves in terms of maybe the guidance he got from his dad. Dave Collins, I played with his dad at schoolboy football here in Dublin. He went to England at an early age at Liverpool and had a career in England before heading home. So I think that matters. I think it helps key moments, key decisions that you're making. You've mentioned about him not going over a bit earlier. For me, I shiver a little bit when I hear like young Irish players heading younger than 16, 15, 14 potentially over to the UK or anywhere else, to be honest with you, without that kind of support network of family and friends behind them. So yeah, I think it was a good thing. And every player is different, Joe. You have to remember that. There's no one rule for all. Generally, it's that physical development which is what you're waiting for. There's been so many Irish players down the years. Nathan, you'll know, Rich, in terms of technically brilliant. Now, street footballers, we hear it a lot. They have it all. They have all the skills. Yeah. But it's that kind of physical development. Go over to England, they're just waiting for that physical development to kick in. It's obviously almost been flipped on his head with Evan, like in terms of the size of him, all the attributes are there. And yeah, just the man who took those two goals. His first goal, as I said last night, I might have been talking to Nathan, the goal against Arsenal. Just that first touch, the ball fell behind him, just raked it with the top of it with his studs, almost a nonchalant touch into a stride before finish. And even last night looked an easy finish, lads, but it was a really punchy, confident finish. You know what I mean? Didn't
Snapchat it. Very composed, very relaxed.
Wasn't overthinking it. Just came, just trusted his technique. Bang, high into the corner.
Perfectly forgiven for thinking, oh my God, I'm about to score a second goal in the Premier League in 2 games. Whack, boom, it's over the bar.
Yeah, and it's a bit like Rich was saying about the dart players. Just saw the highlights quickly when I got back home last night. The lad with 9 dart, the lad having just missed the previous one, knowing what's at stake, the crowd going absolutely mental. You could see it. I was watching his face. Literally, he was gone. He was in a different place to everybody else inside Ali Pali, wherever it was.
Yeah.
You know, he put himself in that space to kind of hit the darts that he did. And probably a similar situation, I suppose, all elite athletes and maybe even Evan Ferguson last night just blocked out everything. Yeah. Just trusted technique. Yeah, great finish.
I mean, so let's just put more pressure on him because it's a fun thing to do to an 18-year-old. So I presume Stephen Kenny's looking on, and he's been in squads before, but if he's managing to play a reasonable amount of Premier League football and is scoring a couple of goals here and there, then he's strongly in consideration. We're not producing...
Oh, undoubtedly.
Well, he's already come on and made it. He's made that debut already off the bench. So
no, I know he's played twice, but like in terms of forcing himself in,
I think so. I think there's a place there for him. I think we've rotated a number of times high up the pitch. It looks as if Stephen Kenny's decided on that kind of 3-5-2 formation with a central striking pairing going forward. It looks as if Obafemi may be the one he trusts at the moment in terms of maybe a guaranteed starting position. So I think there's a place up for grabs around him. Troy Parrott's done well. He's coming there. Ogbene Adamida, great to see him back in contention. But I still feel as if there's a position there available if he can maintain his form and obviously keep playing minutes at that level. He's going to come in. He's going to have a strong claim for a place.
You were covering Manchester United, Bournemouth. Were United any good?
Yeah, they were. in some aspects of their game, not so good in other aspects. Yeah, it was a funny old game. That second half was like batty. It really was. It was so open. So open, Joe. I mean, they could have conceded 3 easily. Manchester League went 2-0 up, and you think, just kill the game now, just end it. You know, just take the ball away from Bournemouth and don't overcommit. You know, just suffocate the game basically. If you get another goal, fair enough. If not, but the game's done. And it just wasn't the case. They kind of turn over the ball. They look fragile on the transitions. That kind of defensive structure midfield doesn't stand up out of possession when they get spread around the pitch, and Bournemouth just cut through them time and time again, crosses into the box. As I said, you could have scored 1 or 2 goals. Some good plus points, of course, some really good quality goals, some good individual performances kind of dotted around the pitch, but also some little bit of imbalance into the team as well. We'll probably speak about it a bit later.
Yeah.
Bruno playing off the right looked out of sorts, uncomfortable playing there, so the team was a little bit unbalanced because of it. So yeah, a lot of good there, a lot of promise, a lot of feel good. I understand that confidence building, momentum, yeah, but at the same time, Manchester City and Arsenal coming down the road, if they'd have been on the pitch playing any of those 2 teams last night, forget it, the game would have been taken away from them.
Interesting, because I think we all just looked at the scoreline and thought, well, it was a procession, so that's interesting. Kenny's with us between 9 and 10, so we'll chat about all the football of the past couple of days. The Newsround is brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. So we don't know if John Cooney is going to make the jump, Richie, but Ben Healy has made the jump.
He has indeed. Ben Healy is off to Edinburgh. The Scottish club confirmed the out-half has signed a 2-year contract and will depart Munster at the end of this season. Healy qualifies to play for Scotland through his mother, and he could well find himself playing against Ireland at the World Cup in the autumn. Munster head coach Graham Rowntree said Healy's decision to leave is out of their hands, but fully understands his professional aspirations. Healy himself says the decision to leave his hometown club has not been an easy one to make, but believes the Edinburgh move gives him the best opportunity to fulfil his professional goals.
We'll talk to Andy Dunn between 8 and 9. I know you're not a rugby aficionado generally, Kenny, so this is a player who has played about 50 times for Munster, never been picked for Ireland, has Scottish grandparents, therefore qualifies for Scotland. Scotland have noticed, geez, Ireland don't seem to be using you. Come over and play for Edinburgh and presumably play for Scotland, and he's decided, yeah, I'm 23, I'm not making much headway with Ireland, I'll do that. Would you do something similar if it had come to it, if Ireland didn't want you?
No, you can't ask me that question. Like, I can't put myself into that lad's shoes because that wasn't my situation. I didn't have that pull.
That link.
Yeah, similar to a lot of other players that I played with. It just wasn't no kind of decision to be made. It's that there's that kind of emotional attachment that you have, and that's it really. Like, there's no decision to be made. So it'd be easy for me to jump in, row in there and give me opinion, but I don't think I should really, to be honest, because I just, you know, I can't stand in that man's shoes in terms of his family background, his association, might be a strong connection, family connection there to Scotland. I always personally myself, I always feel it inside you, it's got to be in you there in terms of this is what I want, this is where my attachment lies, and I'm going to commit myself to this hell or high water for the whole of my career. And for me, if that's the case, even if that you just get one cap, even if it just that manifests itself in one cap over the course of a 15-year career, surely that'd mean more than potentially 40 or 50 playing for another country, albeit you've got strong connections there. But yeah, so it's I've probably learned over the years to keep out. Probably a couple of years ago, I would have jumped in there and given a stronger opinion than that. But you know, I have to understand the fact that we all have different backgrounds. Too easy for me to jump in there and kind of criticise that lad and say, oh, what's all that about, jumping from one to the other? That ain't right, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he's totally entitled to, and you know, as he said himself, it will further his professional life and it's a short career. The strange thing, Richie, always with rugby players, especially when you're going from the likes of Ireland to Scotland, is maybe in football you might come across the Republic of Ireland once, twice across your decade-long career. Ben Healy's going to see Ireland every year and listen to Aaron Levine every year. It's like you're like facing them routinely, which is the other complication.
Presuming he does actually play for Scotland.
Presuming he does actually play for Scotland, exactly.
Does, yes. Yeah, we can't exactly make the presumption, but we'll assume that he will.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one, and as Kenny mentioned there, the familial ties with his mum being Scottish adds a bit more strength to his connection. It's not like a John Cooney situation whereby he's already played international rugby. Ben Healy hasn't, so he does have that opportunity still open to him. It's not like he's switching countries. I don't know. From a Healy point of view, you can understand it because you're looking at the depth chart there with Ireland, and he's probably thinking with the emergence of Jack Crowley, I've fallen behind not only at Munster, regardless of his good performance at the weekend. I've probably fallen behind at Munster, and that's not going to change given the age profile of Carberry and Jack Crowley. You look at Leinster, and they've got out halves to beat the band with Ross Byrne, Harry Byrne, Kieran Frawley, who we haven't talked about because he's injured, but he's another one that's in there too. So he's probably looked at his pathway towards international rugby and thought it's not going to happen there. I don't know if this option was open to him. What I would have maybe liked, and from an Irish perspective preferred to see, is if there were other avenues open to him to go off and play in England or in France and maybe bide his time, build his profile over there, and not necessarily commit to one or the other. I know Scotland are on a hunt for depth. Edinburgh and Glasgow particularly are on a hunt for depth themselves. Scotland under Gregor Townsend definitely needed too, so I can see their outlook on it. It's just, I guess it's much like Keith Wood said this morning, it's a shame that it's come to this, I guess, that an Irish player has decided to pursue their avenues elsewhere, and it shows how much of a bottleneck there is in certain positions for us.
Yeah, well, Andy Dunn's going to join us after 8 o'clock, and it's the second time Scotland have tried to allure Ben Healy. They tried 2 years ago, and this time he's made the move. It'll be at the end of this season with the World Cup on the horizon, which could be interesting. Cooney and Healy versus Ireland at the World Cup would be quite something. We do have Premier League this evening, so Spurs under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, they are indeed, against a decent Crystal Palace side too. Spurs looking to close the gap in the Premier League's top four tonight. They're away to Crystal Palace, and there's an 8 p.m. start at Selhurst Park. Matt Doherty starts again for Spurs, and there's also an 8 o'clock start in the West Midlands derby clash of Aston Villa and Wolves. Nathan Collins is at the heart of the Wolves defence, and Joe Hodge is on the bench for them. Southampton welcome Nottingham Forest to St Mary's. Kickoff is in just 7 minutes time, and Peter Hood has the team news from St Mary's.
Southampton manager Nathan Jones looks to avoid 3 successive Premier League defeats since he became manager of Southampton by making a trio of changes from the team that lost at Fulham. In come Lavia, Mara and Perot. Out go Maitland-Niles, Aribo and Adozie, who is injured. No surprise on the Forest side, they're unchanged from the team that drew with Chelsea. It's Southampton against Nottingham Forest at St Mary's.
We'll keep an eye on all those games. I'm presuming Spurs won't give Crystal Palace a 2-goal lead, but then again, who knows? That is their want.
Highly likely with the kind of forwards Crystal Palace can put on the pitch. Very dangerous.
Why are Southampton so putrid this year?
I think that's a bit strong. They're struggling all right.
Bottom of the league.
Yeah, somebody's got to be bottom of the league.
Yeah, generally they're putrid.
Well, they haven't been putrid for every week of every season for the Bags. They managed to stay in the Premier League and excel at certain
Which is
points.
why I'm wondering, why this year, after 17 games with their 12 points, are they so poor this year? I haven't seen much of them.
No, we haven't now. Picked up some decent enough players. The German boy in particular, early in the season, centre half, Bella Kotchap, wasn't it? Did he actually go to the World Cup? I think he did with Germany. So I thought they recruited reasonably well in the summer, but yeah, forms fell off a cliff. Che Adams looked at an absolute world beater kind of start to the season, struggling as well. Confidence, you know how it goes, Joe, that kind of ripple effect. Kind of confidence. Obviously, there was issues there with the manager. That was an interesting move from the outside, looking in what was going on there. Some of the players that stopped listening to him. I was reasonably impressed generally with Hasselhoetel during his time at Southampton, and yeah, it was, I wouldn't say scratching my head like when they made this particular appointment, Nathan Jones coming in, certain element of risk there in terms of bringing him in. Time will tell, he's only been there for a few weeks, but yeah, I would fear for them a little bit, I've got to be honest with you, but still a lot of experience and some quality in that squad, Ward Prowse in particular, and I think it's those experienced players, your battle-hardened players. As a manager, you look to Nathan Jones, particularly experienced at this level. It's those senior players you hope it's going to pull the whole thing together and begin the fight back second half of the season.
Elland Road as well, Rich?
Yeah, 7:45 start there. Leeds are going to play host to West Ham. With the team news in this one, here's Peter Smith.
2 changes to the Leeds side that held Newcastle to a goalless draw. In come Rocker and Somerville. Harrison drops to the bench. Forshaw is out through injury. 4 alterations as David Moyes tweaks his West Ham side in order to try and find a winning formula. In come Agard, Kerher, Fornells and Soucek, with Cresswell, Agbonna, Benrahma and Emerson named as substitutes. At Elland Road, it's Leeds United against West Ham.
Both sides there tonight wearing black armbands following the death today of West Ham co-chairman David Gold at the age of 86.
So Van Dijk, people would have seen, was substituted at half-time against Brentford, and that phrase, more serious than first thought, is hanging over them suddenly.
Yeah, Liverpool stealing themselves for a longer than expected period without Virgil van Dijk. He needs to see a specialist with his hamstring injury worse than first feared. Van Dijk was replaced at half-time in Liverpool's defeat away to Brentford on Monday night. Liverpool host Wolves in the FA Cup this weekend. They also have Premier League games this month with Brighton and Chelsea. Also looming on the horizon is their Champions League last 16 first leg with Real Madrid. That is on February 21st.
Somebody says we need a fifth province. Far too many good players either leaving or not playing rugby through their prime years. Let's just buy London Irish once and for all, as a text into 53106. Do we think Aaron Connolly can get back on track at Hull? Still think there's a lot of talent there. Would be amazing to see an Irish strike force in the Premier League at Brighton. Have we ever had that before? Have we ever had a Premier League duo?
Strike for Niall Quinn, John Aldridge.
Niall and Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie. John Aldridge, I'm thinking at the time was.
But not at the same club.
Who played up front with John?
Not at the same club though.
Oh, the same club?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Jeez, same club.
That's a big ask.
No. God, no.
I think the ship has sailed for Connolly at Brighton anyway. I think he'll be out of there this summer regardless of what happens at Hull. They'll probably find new pastures for him elsewhere and he'll find it for himself. He needs this to work out at Hull, like badly, because the Venezia thing has gone way badly wrong. Hasn't played since September. Only started I think twice there before that. Seems more in love with the idea of being a professional footballer than actually playing football, and that needs to change.
Pat asking all the big questions here. Kenny, did you enjoy your Christmas dinner? And then settle a bet. Croquettes? ? Christmas dinner staple or no?
It's a cop out. Croquettes. It's just a filler, isn't it?
No,
it's just a little filler. You put everything on the plate and you're short, and you think, what? Bang a few croquettes into the oven, 15 minutes, top whack.
Oh, they're good though.
Put them on the plate. No, not Christmas. That's cheating. It's cheating.
Are you a Brussels sprouts man? You probably are.
A few more roast potatoes on. Just bang a few more.
I agree totally.
Should never be short roast potatoes.
Listen, it's a crime.
They should never be emptied. If you haven't got,
how many
roasties left over, you've done it wrong.
How many is too many? I think we'd all hit double figures before
you can never have enough.
Yeah,
they're gone. By the end of the night, they're gone. Somebody's like snaking out there as the evening goes on, and slowly but surely, they disappear.
Yeah, Brussels sprouts, man.
Oh yeah.
Would you be?
Yeah, I forsake them for the whole of December, so I can look forward to them on. Never understand that one.
But the
even the turkey one, I don't get. People on the work dues have about 3 Christmas dinners prior to. Oh, Joe.
Yeah,
no.
I'll dig into turkey and ham.
Ridiculous.
No, I will. Yeah, it's just so good.
You have to suffer. You have to forego that for about a month before you're. Hence the enjoyment.
Honestly, once the clocks go back, any chance I'll go for it.
That's why I guess how much satisfaction I think from a Christmas dinner. It's like a penance.
We are pretty much hitting the clock, Richie, unless there's any other story you think you want to squeeze in.
As you mentioned there at the top of the show, Jamie Mullins is the latest player to go the well-trodden path from Bohemians to Brighton. The 18-year-old midfielder has signed a 2.5-year deal with the Premier League club. Evan Ferguson and Warren O'Hora have previously made the same switch. Ferguson scored and provided an assist, of course, last night in his first Premier League start at Everton.
Are we... somebody's just do a compilation here. Are we sending more players than ever to the UK? I just feel like every news round there's a story like this. Or is it we're sending the same amounts, it's just they're no longer 14, 15, 16-year-olds going over?
They're going later. They're going much later.
It is, and therefore it makes the news in a way that a 14, 15-year-old going over didn't.
Yeah,
is that your sense too, Kenny?
I think that's fair comment. I think it's a good thing for the reasons that I said earlier. Jamie Mullins hasn't actually had a huge amount of game time. Bowes in particular have been hard hit in terms of losing players. Dawson's Devoy, wasn't he, previous to that? Went over to MK Dons. That must be so frustrating. Like clubs like Bohemians kind of bringing these players into the system, kind of seeing them develop and thinking, well, here we go, they're just about to explode and showcase their talent, and whoosh, they're away. That's tough, but
thought now of a 14-year-old going over, 13-year-old going over, as you said, give you shivers. And the done thing for so many years. It's just the older you get, the younger 14 starts to seem.
Yeah.
Dave and Bray has texted in. You can always rely on the listeners. Irish striking duo, same club. I wouldn't say they're like a renowned partnership that started every game together, but they were there at Spurs.
Gary Doherty.
Yes. And
Robbie Keane.
There you go.
Doc.
There you go. Doc.
The step over.
There you go.
The famous step over.
So Kenny is with us between 9 and 10. We've a lot to discuss. Richie McCormack will bid you farewell.
Nice and lads.
Cheers, Richie.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
Now, the cash machine's been reloaded. The new number for you this evening, €17,882.63. Text play to 57557. Get your entry in by 3 o'clock tomorrow. And then across the goal line at our stations, Barry Dunn will make the call. If your phone rings, answer within 5 rings. The exact amount in your own cents, and the cash is yours. So again, the amount for tomorrow is €17,882.63. Over 18s only. Text cost €2.50. And you're playing across the goal line at our stations. Terms and conditions